Hi, this is Jeff. Online, I go by Nether Castle. Thank you so much for hitting play on this first episode of The Castle. I've interviewed some great streamers over the last few weeks. I'm excited to finally share those conversations with you. In this episode, I'm talking with Roxasoath, a variety streamer I've admired for a while now. Roxas was kind enough to talk with me about his approaches for improving his stream and keeping up with his community. Stay tuned after the interview. We've got a rapid-fire Q&A session called the Speed Run, as well as a quick streaming tip from Jeff Roth, one of the great streamers I'm interviewing on a future episode of The Castle. Roxas, thanks for joining me on The Castle. I'm excited to talk to you about the changes you've been making to your stream, as well as how you're keeping up with your community.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to, get to share the experience and just talk about streaming for a little bit.
Going back to about the beginning of the year, it's when I really first started noticing that things were changing on your channel. It felt like it was something that you were consciously doing. I think you actually called it out on Twitter at one point, or somewhere along those lines, that you were making an effort to revitalize or change things around. Was there something that prompted that? Like, was there a particular event, or was it just something you felt was due?
I guess maybe a little bit of both. I don't think it was so much the new year. It's something that had been on my mind, even from just a big life perspective, since, maybe about middle of November, where I kind of hit this stride where I was like improving in different areas of my life and work. And
Okay.
I was just thinking, man, what can I really do, in each little box or category of my life that I can improve upon. And so I started brainstorming some different ways. And unfortunately, with all the holiday madness, it wasn't actually until New Year's, which makes
Yeah,
it
right.
seem very New Year's resolution-y, that I got around to it. And what you were talking about, I think, was I did have a Twitter post saying like, hey, I don't normally share, giant resolution type things, but I dropped a video on YouTube just saying like, hey, here's sort of my plan, not only as a streamer, but in real life as well, on what I wanted to change. And since streaming is one of my major hobbies and things I like to invest time in, that was, a pretty big part of that video too.
Oh, okay. So it was you were making some changes outside of just streaming. It was kind of a full approach with everything else. I know you've been running an awful lot. Were you setting specific goals with your streaming and with everything else in your life?
To an extent, funnily enough, I had actually gone back to a conference in October where they talked about setting like these really rigorous goals,
Okay.
something called like OKRs, objective key results. And
Right.
I had thought at first I was going to do that and find different ways to measure things, and I might at some point, but I just started down that path, I guess, of what is my objective, and I kind of got that far without going into maybe the analness of having like the key results in every little aspect of life.
Right.
But that kind of started it. So I set a goal, like I knew specific things I wanted to improve on or find different ways to engage with streaming specifically.
It's interesting that you say that because I have a hard time with setting specific goals when it comes to streaming. I find a lot of the stuff I do either I can't control directly or it's not quantifiable. So how do you approach that? How do you approach setting goals for your streaming?
Very carefully.
Okay. Okay.
And I think you hit on an important part, especially when you're sort of at this, I'm going to call it like an entry level, like affiliate streamer,
Yeah, right.
because I think if you get too wound up in goals, you end up kind of like self-destructing.
Absolutely.
So when I set goals, like you said, it's kind of hard to, because there's things you can't control. Like you can't control, if there's just an off day, or, you're sort of at the bottom of the list and people are just going through games, right? And you're just not getting clicked on. You're not even getting that opportunity to affect your viewership or the followers or subs or things like that, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
I think those goals are fine goals to set, to say like, hey, I'd like to try to get X number of viewers this month, or X number of followers or engagement, or I'd like to have so many messages and chat. But I think if you don't reach them, you have to step back and evaluate, like, was there something that went wrong? Like, were people coming into my chat, into
Mhm.
my channel? Like, look at unique views perhaps. and just say, well, was maybe I quiet when they came in and I didn't get that opportunity to engage. And I think that sort of retrospective is more important than, man, I didn't get my 5 follows this month or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. It sounds like for you, looking at those stats, looking at the number of viewers or unique views, that kind of thing is more a way to measure the results rather than how to set a goal. So, you had touched on like setting a goal of, oh, I'm going to get so many viewers this week or this month, or I'm going to get so many subs. If that's something that's out of your control, like what's a more appropriate goal? What kind of goal do you set when you look at your streaming?
So I guess I will start by saying one goal I do try to set is I do look at average viewership,
Okay.
as I just sort of contradict everything I told myself, but I try to I have to use some sort of metric, right? But I don't let it destroy me. But goals I set, there's certain things I know I want to do with my stream that I know I have to invest time either on stream just with how I interact or handle things,
Yeah,
as
right.
well as things off screen like setup or, social media is actually a really hard one for me. Um,
Right.
it's just hard for me to get in that mindset and go be like, oh, I need to post to Twitter. I need to post to Facebook. I need to go update the panels on my Twitch page.
This is a list of things you're reminding me to do for my channel at this point.
They're hard things to do, and it's to the point now where I'm like, I'm just gonna go write a script that I can like input it into one thing and it will go do it everywhere else for me.
Well, I mean, going back to, putting in that work, like you were saying, how much time do you spend working on your stream or working on your channel when you're not actually live?
It tends to vary quite a bit, but I try to at least set aside an hour or two per week.
Okay.
Or I also will try if there's something particular like right after stream where I'm like, crap, why wasn't this working? Or why didn't it work in the way I wanted it to? I try to fix that like immediately after stream because those tend to be the things that you forget about till you hit, start streaming again and then you're like, oh, dang it. I
Isn't that the
forgot this
worst
again.
feeling?
It is.
When it's like the third stream in a row and you're like, God damn it, I didn't fix that thing yet.
Yeah, the one that bit me recently, and I kind of maybe stole this. I'm sure lots of people do it, but I noticed
Hmm.
Pilgrim does it quite a bit when people like take clips. It's like, oh, what just got clipped? And I was like, oh, I really need a desktop capture like
Right.
scene. And I forgot it, I think, like you said, 3 times in a row. And finally, like two streams ago, I think, I was like, oh shit, I've got like 5 minutes. I can do this real fast.
Yeah, right. Well, there you go. You got it done.
I did. I
That
did.
was Wandering Pilgrim you were talking about. I'll put a link to his channel in the show notes here. He's a great streamer. If you guys haven't watched him yet, I recommend him for sure. But yeah, you're pretty engaged with the community too. A lot of the folks that we see in our channels, and it's other streamers are a big part of it. And you do tend to spend a lot of time in their channels too. Like, is that a big time investment for you? Is that intentional, or are you there because you're chilling? Or
Yeah, so this is something that kind of evolved from
okay,
even when I started streaming. When I started, it was literally like, I hate to sound so cynical or
no, no,
offhand about it, but like I just hit go live and I was just like, if people want to come chill and chat about games, that's cool. And if nobody comes, that's cool too, because I just get to play games for a while, right?
yeah, right,
And then as you said, like over the past 6 months or year, when people started coming in and I started getting those interactions and hearing other people talk about having this Twitch community, I was like,
hmm,
oh, I get it now. It didn't click, that whole layer and aspect I was missing. So it is something I have now intentionally like pursued.
okay,
So when I go to other channels, like I want to be there. I want to hang out. I want to hear how other people are doing and see what's going on. And it's been just really cool and surprising in some ways. Just like the relationships you can form. I know you mentioned like streamers explicitly, like where they come into your chat and you go into theirs. Like that relationship you can form with somebody by just watching them and responding to chat and
yeah.
then doing the same thing back and forth.
Absolutely, but I'll tell you, I found that I can't fake it that way. Like, I never go to somebody's channel with the intention of manufacturing a connection, if that makes sense. Anytime I'm in someone's channel, it's because I want to be there. And there is a crew or a community that seems to build up, but it's all people that I genuinely want to spend time in their channel, and I genuinely appreciate when they're in mine too.
Yeah, and I think what you said exactly hits the point. Like, for me, I don't want this fakeness, and I try really hard on stream to not like be fake about anything, and that
What are you talking about?
includes.
You wear an
Yeah.
eye patch on stream. You don't need an eye patch.
I guess that's true. You're not wrong.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think not faking those interpersonal relationships is important to me, and I know I've heard horror stories about other streamers that have faked that for so long and actually got
Hmm.
big, and it's just really gut wrenching and sickening to hear when they they slip up, or even in some cases intentionally, are just like, yeah, it's all about your money, I don't care about any of you. And it's like, ooh, it's like, that's not what you want to hear about this person that you've just invested your time and life investing in, right?
I've certainly had that experience where I feel like I've seen another side of somebody. I think something that you do well is that you're, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not scared of being silly. You're not scared of being vulnerable. You can act like an idiot. Pardon my my term, intentionally, but it's because people can really see that that's you, right? You're not putting on a big tough guy act, and I think that's what makes a lot of people connect with your channel, or it has recently, anyway.
Yeah, and I love getting to share that side with people, and I think that's, to maybe take it a little bit more real life aspect.
Mm,
I think that's why I'm successful, in work too. Just like getting along with people in the office, I'll just be goofy and do
right,
little goofy things, find a way to like, bring some liveliness. And I love getting to do that in stream. It's a little bit different on stream than when you're like
sure.
face to face with someone, but anything that I can do to just kind of like up the energy, or get a laugh out of somebody, hopefully it gives, I hope, as much to them as it gives back when I get to hear like the reaction or see the reaction through chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it makes an actual connection.
Yeah.
You had mentioned spending time in other folks' streams, though. Is there do you take aspects of the streams, or is there anything that you've seen that you've wanted to incorporate into your own?
Yeah, I think there's definitely quite a few things that I have taken. For instance, we were talking about channel points a while back,
Yeah, right.
when I saw like, oh, you can do these time things, like, oh, for 5 minutes I'll play with a controller upside down, or for 10 minutes I'll not talk, or I can't curse, or swear jar, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I was just like, that's when the real switch flipped for me for channel points, because at the time and even now, like, I don't have a ton of emotes that people can choose to like redeem for 24 hours or to edit, the Twitch
Right.
ones, right? So I was like, what can I do that is unique to me? And once I saw that, I was like, oh man, there's gonna be some cringy performances on Roxasoath's channel. So that definitely gave me inspiration to do some of the things, like you mentioned, me wearing a blindfold for like 5 minutes. That's a redeemable thing.
Yeah, right.
The one that seems most popular is the voice changer.
Yes, it seems to be. Well, it's man, people die with it when you do that. People are in
It
love with that
gets
when you do that.
it gets so ridiculous. I think the worst one, or maybe the best one, was the space pirate in Doom the other week.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think Bond's still talking about that one.
So I've definitely stolen some, taken inspiration from people's channel points ideas. Also, just how people kind of interact with chat.
Okay.
We touched on like not being fake, and I've gone in and watched people that, even if they're not like maybe personality wise fake, if you get like really fake reactions to like, oh, that was supposed to be funny, and you get sort of the Final Fantasy X like, ha 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 ha, for, it's just like, okay, man, I get it. You're trying to react, but it's not really you reacting. That kind of was one thing I was like, I'm not gonna force myself to react in the way that I'm supposed to. I'm gonna let it be genuine.
That was a pretty good Titus impression, by the way. I gotta say. Is it Titus Titus? I never know that.
I think it's actually I think it is supposed to be Titus. I think
Yeah,
somebody
that's
told me that the other week.
you're ruining my childhood
I
or my
know.
early
I know.
20s hood. When you talk about that fakeness, I'm curious about that because the way that I feel about it is that I think I understand it a little bit more now that I stream. Sometimes I don't feel like it's fake. I think it's more the reactions that I have on stream are maybe a bit bigger than they would be if I wasn't on stream. It's almost like I'm purposefully not restraining myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's almost like a socially safe place. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but like you can like let yourself have that emotion in its fullness, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
actually a really good way to put it. Yeah. I gotta ask. So, do you go back and watch your streams at all? Do you watch your own VODs?
it's rare, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. It's one, it is a big time commitment, if I'm being honest. And two, for me, there's streams that I'm like, man, I don't want to go back and watch myself. It's just like, which I guess maybe tells one of two things, right? Like, it was either so cringy that people loved it, and maybe I should keep doing that thing, or it was so cringy that I need to change something. It is something though I think is important, and I want to spend some more time trying to at least maybe jot down a timestamp or something while I'm streaming and be like, "Hey, go remember to check yourself out at this time and see what you're doing." So I can kind of self-evaluate because I think it's really hard if you're not doing that, at least on some level.
Well, I agree, and I do have a hard time going back and watching my own streams, and certainly I wouldn't watch one front to back. But I think it is a powerful tool, which I'm not using at all. I think it's probably something I could incorporate a little bit more. But I know that you have a dedication to the presentation of your stream and improving on it. So I assume that was one of the things that you do.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely are right in the fact that I care a lot about the presentation of the stream. I will say most of the like presentational changes that you've probably seen over the last 6 months have either been things that I just noticed because I do have the Twitch chat and like the
Hmm.
now what they call the creator dashboard up on one of my monitors. So
Okay.
if I see something horrendously wrong, I know it's there, but otherwise, luckily I have a pretty good community that is very willing to say, "Hey, why don't you try this or have you considered, doing X, Y, or Z?" And I've really taken a lot of that feedback and one of the things probably like you said 6 months ago or that I started consciously doing was what a lot of streamers talk about like the rubber ducky.
I don't know what you're talking about. What's this?
Oh, so like if you're streaming, right, and you're
Hmm.
just playing the game and maybe nobody's watching or maybe chat's just really quiet.
Sure.
It's very easy to sit there in silence and just play your game and be left to your internal monologue, but you need to stay engaged, say something even if it's just explaining the game or what you're doing or whatever you want to talk about.
Right.
And so streamers apparently have like a rubber duck or some sort of eye thing that they look at to when that happens and they'll just talk to it.
Someone they're talking to. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, and I didn't know it was called that at the time that it was suggested to me like, "Hey, just keep chat going, like keep talking because if people come in and you're not saying anything, they're probably not going to stick around super long if they are looking for that engagement."
I can tell you when I come to a new channel, if the streamer isn't talking, I'm probably not going to stick around long.
It's an unfortunate thing to say because you never know if they're just having an off day or something, but like with the honest like amount of oversaturation of content creation right now, it's just like if you're coming to play, you gotta be ready to play and put everything on the line like honestly every single time you hit the go live button.
Yeah, I really feel like there is a vast ocean on Twitch of really talented streamers that just haven't hit the numbers yet. And it's a big reason why I started this podcast because it's folks like that that I really enjoy talking to. There's an awful lot of the big streamers out there, the partner level kind of streamers that they can't share a perspective with the folks that are at the affiliate level at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right because I feel like the ones that are really really big now, right, have been around for a while, and the people that are kind of the old guard of Twitch, like the original people, it was just a different time back then. you didn't have as much competition, and now it's so easy to get started streaming.
You're absolutely right, it is. The bar of entry is so low at this point, which is amazing because it means that so many people are doing it now. And I'm curious to see how much more that explodes with everybody locked indoors. I got you way off track here though. You had mentioned before about how you do count on chat to give you the heads up when there's something going on or letting you know what's working or not working. It seems like the folks that are in your chat seem to return pretty often. You've got a good crew that is, maybe loyal's the wrong word. That sounds a little strong, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, they stick around. They want to come back.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think is bringing them back?
Well, I don't think it's my gameplay. If we're being honest, like I don't think I'm bad at the game, but I don't think I'm, sitting there speedrunner perfectionist, like this is how you play Overwatch or Call of Duty. I think, or I'd like to believe that it's really the interaction and kind of like the silliness I bring to it, the lightheartedness, and just seeing like what goofy things he gonna do today. Or to go back to the channel points thing again, I think that just adds so much variety because you can redeem the same thing even, and it's just like, oh, how's it gonna get handled in this game? Things like that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, I think that competitive gaming is a much different beast. I think that it's hard for me to watch someone play something like Overwatch or Call of Duty or something competitive that way if the streamer isn't really really skilled at the game. That's I wish it wasn't that way, but it's just there's not the same appeal to me.
Yeah, I think I kind of fall in line. There are times that I do watch that, but it tends to be because I really like the streamer
Yes, exactly.
as opposed to like, and I don't, anybody who watches me and hears this, I'm not meaning this negatively, but it's not so much about the game for me. Like, I enjoy getting
Yeah.
to watch it, but I enjoy like the interactions more, I think, in that case.
When I very first started watching you, you were doing Dark Souls. I think you were in Seath's what's it called library, whatever that was,
Yeah.
which I remembered as being a particularly frustrating part of the game for me. That was my interaction with you, was talking it out and getting a sense for how you're feeling about it and that sort of thing. And I thought that really worked well.
Yeah, and it's those sorts of conversations that I really love when, you have somebody come into chat and they want to dig into that sort of thing or talk about their experience or dig into the lore of a game. Or honestly, like from there I've seen it just branch off and it just goes into, oh, what are you playing right now? And that's how I've learned about a
Yeah,
lot of different other games that I never even would have heard of.
I know for myself, Lords of the Fallen, it was gifted to me by Sunclutch, one of my mods, but it was something I wanted to play because other people told me to play it after Dark Souls.
Somebody had mentioned Hollow Knight to me.
Oh yeah.
Several different people did, and then finally, actually somebody that I'm friends with in real life was like, hey, if you will stream Hollow Knight all the way through, I will just buy you a copy of it. And I was like,
Wow.
deal.
I'm going through it right now. What did you think of that one?
That game is probably the best 2D game I've played in a long, long time.
Wow, really? That's pretty strong praise.
I mean, it just had one like this merriment of like a 2D Dark Souls kind of feel to it just right off the bat. I mean, it
Yep.
shares similar mechanics, right? You die, you have to go back and defeat your shadow to get your geo back as well as have the full capacity of your magic.
So the geos in that game, kind of like the currency, is similar to the souls in Dark Souls. Also, it's kind of a jerk to you. That's a similarity too.
Yeah, it's definitely not very kind. It's not forthcoming with where you're supposed to go at all. Potentially even I would argue that it gives you less guidance than Dark Souls gives you.
I had asked you a little bit about your social media, and you teased a little bit that you had some plans coming up for YouTube. Now I know you might not want to talk specifics, but I wanted to ask you about your goals for the future. It seems like from what you're saying, YouTube is one of those goals. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, YouTube's something that I've wondered what I want to do with it for a long while. And if you're one of the brave souls who wants to go out there and see what's on it right now, you'll see like 5 little videos. At one point, I had taken streams and condensed a little bit and done a little bit of editing on the front or the end,
Right.
and kind of just reposted the VOD almost as like a let's play.
How did you find the response was to that?
Non-existent.
Gotcha. I'm having a heck of a time with YouTube right now.
Man, we could probably talk a long time about how YouTube and its system is set up, and like all the ways that it's almost forced people to like game the system, and like
Sure.
you have to produce so much content on a regular basis. And I feel like for me, if YouTube blows up, it blows up, and if not, the content I want to put out there, I want to feel good about, because I could take my streams, right, and clip them down into chunks or something and post them, but I don't feel like I'm delivering added value to anybody that way.
Sure.
I want to find a different way to deliver value, and there's one video up there that maybe teases that a little bit, which is Kingdom Hearts boss fight on critical mode, which I know right now that video is about the same as every other video out there in terms of, hey, I beat this boss on a hard difficulty. But I think what I'm not seeing a lot of for these sort of like single player games is like an in-depth analysis or dive down into like you would get on like an MMO raid or something. And I was like, oh, that could be kind of
Okay.
cool to dig down into, or
Like a deconstruction or a debrief.
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe also could be considered like a visual strategy guide as opposed to, something in
Right.
paper. And I thought that would be a different way to kind of add content, as well as, maybe some other goofy little things coming up as well.
Well, I'm really excited to see what you do with that. Hopefully we'll have some more previews soon. Before we wrap up, and I've had 1,000 tangents that I've led you on, but I gotta know, I gotta go back to it and ask you, Roxas, do you have a rubber ducky?
I don't have a rubber ducky. I
Oh,
actually don't. There was a
it's
time.
such a good idea. How are you gonna tell me you didn't do it?
I know. Well, even when, like I mentioned, I think maybe I didn't. When I was told, like, just keep talking, I didn't know that there was like this theory or idea of like the rubber ducky myself. And I heard about it probably 3 months ago. And I was like, oh, I'm totally doing that with nothing in front of me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I know. I get it's more of a concept. It's not really it's something to take literally, but
Right. But it'd be cool.
that tickled me.
I know people have talked about like they'll have the rubber ducky and they'll even like show it on stream. Be
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm just talking to my rubber duck down here, and they'll like have it up on like almost a boom or something. I think I've heard them talk about, and they'll like
That's
pull
awesome.
it down.
All right. Thanks a lot for letting me pick your brain about changing up your channel, about engagement with chat. You had mentioned your YouTube channel. Where can people find you online?
Most of the places fall under the name Roxasoath. Roxas like Kingdom Hearts, or Roxas, and then Oath, Oath, all one word. So you can find me on Twitter at Roxasoath, also on Facebook at Roxasoath Streaming, so just append streaming to that word. And YouTube is actually also Roxasoath Streaming, because when I originally came up with this handle years ago, I forgot the original password into that account.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thanks again. Really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. Are you okay to stick around and do our speed run?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Let's do it. Big thanks again to Roxasoath for joining me on my first episode. In the show notes, you'll find a link to all the places you can find him online. I also wanted to call out a couple of folks who mentioned very briefly, Wandering Pilgrim and Basic Bond, a couple of other great streamers. I'll have links to their Twitch channels in the show notes as well. Alright, Roxas, thanks for joining me back here for the speedrun. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's get to it.
Alright, I got 10 questions for you. Give me quick answers, man. We don't have time to kick around here, alright?
Okay, I got it.
Alright, here we go. What is the best Disney movie?
Big Hero 6.
What an unconventional answer. I didn't expect that at all.
If we're going classic Disney, I'm going Mulan.
Okay. Mulan's classic? What are you talking about?
Oh, 90s. Let's go 90s Disney.
What's your favorite Pokemon?
Ooh, Zapdos.
Do you play Pokemon?
I do, but it's not as often. I get a little bit too OCD about it.
What's the worst Kingdom Hearts game?
In terms of gameplay, it has
You're overthinking this. What's the worst one?
Chain of Memories.
Okay. What's the best show to binge watch?
Stranger Things.
Oh, okay. How about your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Strawberry.
What?
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you.
Whoa, what's wrong with strawberry?
We don't have time to get into this. It's too deep. What was your first live concert?
Honestly, it was Aaron Carter, but I tell everybody it was Green Day.
Oh! I'm so glad I asked that question. What's the best breakfast cereal?
Lucky Charms or Cookie Crisp, depending on how sweet I want to go.
Do they still make Cookie Crisp?
They do, surprisingly. I didn't think it was
God.
a thing anymore, but it is.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Oh, really? What kind of tea do you drink?
I really like English breakfast or Earl Grey, especially like
Earl Grey's good.
recently I've been into the London fogs.
Oh, so you like the fragrant stuff.
I guess stronger, like the stronger dark teas, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite big time streamer?
I mean, I've watched Dr. Disrespect a couple times.
Okay.
It's probably the biggest I
He
can
puts
think
on a show,
of.
man.
He does. He gets very, very into it.
What's the best sandwich ingredient?
Spicy brown mustard.
Spicy brown mustard. Okay. You're taking way too long with these questions. You fail completely.
Oh, I thought I did okay. There was only the one that I super struggled with, I think. The Kingdom Hearts one.
Oh, you're worse. And then you said strawberry for favorite ice cream. This is a loss.
Lost
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on this. It's been a blast.
And now a quick streaming tip. Yay!
So if I can give a tip to anybody who wants to get into the streaming world, don't get into streaming just for money. Get into streaming and stick with it because you love to do it. It should be a passion, not a get-rich-quick scheme, because I'll tell you right now, it's not. Also, use YouTube for more than just streaming. Use it to create that authored content that you create with video editing software to get your production value out there and show your real passion in more ways than just live streaming.
Now that brings us to the end of our first episode of The Castle. I just wanted to say thank you very much again for listening. If you've enjoyed the episode, please give us a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget that I stream every Monday and Wednesday night on Twitch at 7:30 Eastern Time. There's some great people that come through, it's a lot of fun. You can find me online on Twitch and at Twitter at @another_castle. And I hope you tune in next week, we'll have another great interview coming up.